Admirable Conversations.
Magandang araw, maligayang pakikinig sa isa na namang episode ng Admirable Conversations.
Ngayon, pag-uusapan natin ang isa sa pinaka-importanteng kakanyahan ng pamumuno.
Samahan ninyo kami sa pagbibigay kahulugan ng essence of family values and faith kasamang ating host na si JV Miles Tunggia o kilala sa palayaw na Jace ng Teen Center Manager.
Good day everyone. Today, we will be having Ma'am Geraldine Custodio, Teen Center Manager of Dagupan City. Good morning, Ma'am Geraldine.
Good morning, Jace.
We are glad to have you for our performance task. So, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little about your early life?
I'm Geraldine. I am the youngest among 4 siblings. My elder brother is 7 years older than me. So mahaba ang aming age gap. Yeah, well, I spent my early life in Baguio City. My father was a miner in a mining community in Baguio. And then I transferred to Dagupan City sometime second year high school and then lived here by then.
Okay. What are some important experiences that made who you are today po?
I think growing up in a not really a poor family, let's say an average middle income family, made me realize that it doesn't really matter where you are. It's what matters most is where you're heading to. Financial hindrances are just minor. There's always a way. My mantra in life is there will always be a way as long as God wills it to, because God will never lead you where you cannot become productive.
That is very inspirational. Now, for our third question, who has been the biggest influence in your life and why?
My mom. My mom has always expressed her love, ang tawag natin tough love. But that tough love made us who we are. Her patience, I saw how she juggled parenthood into making a bit of income to help my dad. And she has always been there. I would always remember her saying, you can do what you want, but always know your limits. And I live by that.
Could you expand more of that?
Well, as a youngster, when we were always free to do what we want. I would not deny that I had my, bad girl days, but I had to know my limits. When I was in high school, she did not tell me bawal magka-boyfriend. She said, it's all right as long as you know your limits. When I was in high school, it's still that way. It's not just I don't want to go beyond my limits and doing something more than what I typically do. It's just that I know when to stop. And knowing when to stop means knowing to gauging the right time, the right place, the right things to do at the right time.
Whew, okay. There's so much profound wisdom in what you have said. Now, let's move on for faith and values. So, looking back, can you share a memory of a time when your family taught you a value that has stayed with you and continues to affect the way you live your life today?
I was in Baguio City during the 1990 earthquake. So you would see falling rocks and everything there. Everybody was praying. And that's the time that I said, yes, when you pray, there's nothing else that you should fear. Sa amin noon, even when there was a strong earthquake, you see all these cracks, all these buildings collapsing. When you pray, you'd have that faith that says you are trusting the Lord. Whatever comes, it is the will of God.
Okay, can you share a time when your faith or family values were put to the test? How did you overcome that difficult situation and what did you learn from that experience?
My family values put to the test. It's probably when I realized I had this, I have 4 sons. My eldest has ADHD. My second has ADHD. My third has autism. My fourth, there was no intellectual disability, but He has osteogenesis imperfecta. So, along the way, you'd ask, where did I go wrong? So parang, was my faith not that strong? Did I do something wrong that the Lord is doing this to me? I just told myself, maybe the Lord just believes in me so much. Lord knows my limits and knows what I can do. That's why He gave me these sons so that I could raise them the best way I could. Like, rather than sulking and not accepting what my sons are for, I had to face that and say, okay, binigay mo to sa akin, bahala ka sa akin.
That's very brave. Like, others would definitely, turn away from their faith, blame God for what happened, but you took it as an inspiration and a motivation to continue driving on to your life and to accept your sons for who they really are. That's magnificent. So, for our next question, how do you uphold your family's values in your everyday life, and how do you express those values within your family and community?
Every day, I'm always open with my children. A lot of kids who come here at work, because I work in the teen center, they'd always say, sana ako yung nanay. Because I'd always tell my sons, it's the same mantra from my mom. You should know your limits. So they are free to do what they can. I let them decide. I never dictate what course they take, what sports they make, what should they do with their lives. But the most important thing I do, even if I am so busy, I'm a very, very busy person at the moment with all these projects handed on to me. And that family value of knowing your limit, your capacity, makes them grow up to be more responsible. Even with me having a son with autism, I am free to work because I'm happy and proud that at an early age, I taught them that responsibility, knowing their limits, knowing what they can do, knowing what they should do.
Okay. Most common parents these days would really limit their children into doing stuff like that, like actual strict parenting. But the way you parent is much more, it's very not so permissive, but rather there's strict boundaries, but they're still free to do what they could do. So, for section 3 of this podcast, we will tackle about challenges and resilience. Tell us about one of the biggest challenges you have faced in your life and explain to us, how did you do that, what kept you going, and what were some of the things you learned from those experiences?
The most challenging was taking my family when we brought back our family home to the Philippines. We were in Australia for 8 years. But because one of our sons has autism, we were not granted the permanent residency. So we had to uproot all these kids who were there for 8 years coming back to the Philippines. It was so hard because they came back here, no Filipino. They cannot understand Filipino. They're only English speakers. And then the change in the environment and everything else. I am happy that none of them blamed their brother because everybody knew that we were sent home because their brother had an autism. None of them blamed their brother. They knew who to blame. It was the system that did not permit us to go there. One of the things that I told my children and myself, there is always a reason why you are in a particular place. So there was a reason why we were in Australia probably for 8 years, because with that we were able to open the community to Filipino communities. When we went to Australia, there were only like 200 in our community, in our suburb, up to 100. And they were all like traditional Australians. We were the only Filipinos. The rest of the Filipinos, they were so afraid to take a step, to take an initiative. I put up a restaurant. After I put up a restaurant, a lot of other Filipinos in the nearby suburb got that courage to put up their own restaurants, to put up their own businesses. And so I said, okay, I was in Australia to inspire my fellow Filipinos. And then when we came back, at least I knew what were the privileges of of teenagers, of children in Australia, how they were doing it in Australia. And that's why when you look at the teen center now, this is how the mayor viewed it to be. This was inspired by Milpita's teen center that is now operated by somebody who has experience in another like first-class country. So, if you look at the programs now, they are in collaboration. Ang sabi ko nga, we are not because I am here, but we have a mayor who's supportive, and I have ideas on how to lay it down. If I look at how the projects of the mayor, the projects of the teen center, and my family have all glued in together, I'd say, okay, tama lang na nandito ako. There is a reason.
Okay, so what struck me with that message is that with your sons, you really raised them well. That their attitude wasn't directed to blaming their brother, but rather blaming the system, because most children or most teenagers wouldn't even think about. And especially your impact on your local suburb in Australia, taking that one step into standing out, taking the initiative to build a restaurant and inspiring other Filipinos to do the same is very courageous. And with what you said about kung bakit nangyayari mga bagay-bagay, the reasons behind that, it's rooted in the faith din. Kasi we all know that everything happens for a reason, and God allows that to happen. Now, for the section 4 of this podcast, community contributions and leadership. So first question, what is your role and responsibility in this community?
My role is to initiate projects that will protect the youth, building that better future using who you have now. So we have the youth with us. It is very challenging. In most of my talks, I would say iba na ang kabataan ngayon. It's highly different from how we were before. But if we will stick to just saying iba na ang kabataan ngayon and still stick to using what was used before, it's not going to jive. Iba na ang kabataan ngayon, so iba na rin ang diskarte ngayon. My role is to find that tamang diskarte so that I could reach more youth and they would still have faith in themselves. And probably all these cases about stress, anxiety, depression, well, sadly, we have suicide, self-harm, abuses, bullying, and everything else, will at least lessen. My role is to let the youth realize that things are in my hand. I have a responsibility at hand, and I have to take charge of it. The moment I would say that I cannot do it, it is just saying I have to lose it. But that's not how it's supposed to be. And I always start with my kids. I tell them, if they fail, I don't get mad at my kids. But I would tell them, but you have to do better next time. If they do something wrong and they fail, I'd ask them, what's the lesson? My role is not just as a community builder, as a family person. I think it's always living by example. You inspire by doing what you should be doing that you want others to do. Ganun lang kasimple.
Okay po. So, with what you said din po about the kabataan na, yun nga po iba na ang kabataan. And with regards to a lot of major changes and with the way you presented na, kung iba ang kabataan na yun, dapat iba na din yung diskarte. And with all what you said din po about being community and a family person, dapat it's by living by example. And hearing these answers that you have, you really have this, impact. And that means not only are you an effective leader, but rather you're very effective po in your communication. Kasi nga din po, we also believe that To be an effective leader means to be very effective in communication. And it's not that because trabaho nyo lang, but rather you embody it in you. And with all of your messages today, I think this will inspire a lot of the students at St. Albert the Great School. So lastly, what one message do you have for the students at St. Albert the Great School?
Make the most out of your time as a student. When you are given tasks, don't take it as a pressure. Because when you already think of a task as a pressure, it's already something negative that will wear you down. Take it as a challenge. Look at the brighter side. Ang task na yan, binigay para matuto ka. When you are in the schools, ang dami talagang performance task ngayon. Diba? And when you stop enjoying what you do, that is the time that stress, depression, anxiety build up. You enjoy yourselves. And enjoy nyo yung papunta-punta kayo kung saan-saan para gumawa ng performance task. Enjoy nyo yung pagbubuklat nyo ng pag-research nyo so that you could answer the questions. You find enjoyment in the tasks that you have so that everything becomes lighter. When you think of something negative, yan ang magpe-press down sa'yo. Try to be positive.
For your message. And that's it, everyone. This is another episode of Admirable Conversations. And in this episode, we have Ma'am Geraldine Custodio, Teen Center Manager of Dagupan City. Thank you for having you po. With all of that being said, may this shape our perspectives to change on the essence of faith and values.